Hello, my name is Peter Ross, and our guest today is a journalist and television presenter who's best known for presenting the BBC television series That's Life and for her work in various charitable causes. She is the founder of the child protection charity Childline and is associated with the Burma campaign in the UK. Welcome, Esther Rantzen.
Thank you very much.
Tell me a little bit about what you're interested in doing at the moment, as far as I was reading an article in the Daily Mail about loneliness.
Yes. I do come up with rather crazy ideas.
Right.
And the idea I came up with, because of a response I got to an article I wrote about loneliness, was that perhaps a helpline for older people would have a number of different functions, maybe providing information if people need it, maybe protective, a bit like Childline, but also befriending, because someone from the Samaritans told me that there are old people who just ring them up late at night to say, because they need someone to say goodnight to. And there are old people who don't actually talk to anyone all day, sometimes maybe for a week. So that's not the way we really evolved to be happy. I think we need each other.
So this would be on the basis of Childline or something like that, where they can just phone up for a chat, or
similar. Yes. Obviously, it would be an independent charity. So right now, I've got to put together a board of trustees. I've got to work out some charitable aims. I've got to go to the Charity Commission and get us registered. So there's a lot of obstacles to get through.
You've got to raise a lot of money for that, because I mean, I think when you were starting Childline all those years ago, it was like £25,000 just to get it started, and you had backing from quite a few people, didn't you?
Well, we got £25,000 from the Variety Club,
Yeah.
and we got another £25,000 from the Department of Health, and then the money came in from the public because they wanted to help us, and that's what I do hope will happen with this, that we get some launch money. You've made me a lovely cup of tea. Am I allowed to
carry on.
sip it as we go?
No, this is nice and relaxed here.
And
a biscuit.
And a biscuit. This is an unusual biscuit because it's got sort of wafer outside. I've never seen anything like this befefore. And
it's Belgian.
Is it? Does that mean it's better or worse?
It means it's worse, obviously.
Oh, look, you may say that, but A, this is delicious, and B, Belgium is famous for its food.
Something strikes me, going back to the telephone line to assist mature people. A lot of mature people are deaf, as deaf as a post in some cases. And when I ring up my elderly relatives, a lot of them go, can't hear exactly what I'm saying. How do you think you're going to be able to deal with helping people that are hearing impaired?
Online as well.
Oh, right.
That's what we do at Childline. We have emails, we have one-to-one chat online, and so you can choose which medium you use. And of course, there are ways of augmenting the phone now. A lot of people use it. I've got a friend who's deaf as a post. I shout at him.
Right.
Of course, like many people, indeed like my husband and my father, he's deaf when he feels like it. It's quite useful, actually.
Well, that's the thing that all men suffer from. Today, we're speaking to Esther Rantzen. Let me take you back to 1973 when you started you had your own programme called That's Life, 21 years on the television. You changed an awful lot of things. I mean, I'm just looking at some of the notes, and you changed about the seatbelts for children, and you changed various legislation. What about all of that run gave you the most pleasure?
It was enormous fun as a programme to make. When we meet, as we do from time to time, we roar with laughter in retrospect about some of the funny times we had. And it was such a packed week we had, and such a packed programme, that all of us remember different bits, different high spots, different appalling crises. And I remember writing the script right into the early hours of Saturday morning, writing very late on Friday night when we were on Sunday night. The only day off we had was Saturday, and I spent most of it asleep. But I was talking to a friend of mine who was a researcher on the show, and there was a lovely story on the Isle of Wight, actually, of a lady who kept getting gas bills. And in the end, they threatened that they would come and cut her off. And indeed, they sent men in to cut her off.
Right.
And they arrived in her kitchen and saw what she'd been telling them for months. And they turned to each other, and then they turned to her and said, "You've got no gas." And she said, "I haven't been saying that." So what had happened was I'd written the whole show. I was about 18 months pregnant. I was as big as a house. I think it must have been my second baby, because she was a big baby. Anyway, I think I was just about to give birth, and I was writing and writing and writing. I finished writing the script, and then this bit of research came in, I couldn't resist it.
I had to put
I
it
shouldn't
on.
have. So although it's not the most important story we ever did, obviously we launched Childline and we talked to Ben Hardwick and changed transplantation in this country when people realised how it could save lives and, as you say, seat belts and playgrounds and things. But I've never forgotten that you've got no gas on the Isle of Wight.
Is that where the word Jobsworth came in?
Jobsworth was interesting. Jobsworth wasn't my invention. There was a South African songwriter who wrote a song about Jobsworth. It's because that's what everybody said. It's more than my Jobsworth. When people had stupid rules.
Yeah.
You know, when they wouldn't let you in the car park, when there were plenty of spaces, or when they actually...
Hey, it goes on now.
You're not kidding. Where is that life when you need it?
I know.
But
Could it come back? Could it come back?
Well, people always talk to me about it coming back. Some people in television try and clone it. Have you noticed there's a programme called That's Britain?
I tell you what, when you look back at some of the things that you've done...
Yeah.
You were probably the precursor for all of these reality shows and these shows based on consumers as well.
Yep, you could blame me if you like.
I hope you get a percentage on them. Do you think that humour has changed over the years?
Yeah, there's a tremendous fashion. So that's the thing about comedy. It's why Shakespeare's clowns are terribly unfunny these days. And I was making a documentary about the Goon Show.
Wow.
And which I adored when I was a kid at school. And I'm not sure how well that stands up these days. And
I was listening to some of the Goons only the other day.
Is it still funny?
I find it terrifically funny, but
is that nostalgic?
It's the age.
Yeah.
It's the age.
So I do think there are fashions in comedy, but I think Michael McIntyre transcends all fashion.
Yeah.
And it makes me very amused the way other comics are so jealous of his success.
Yeah.
Because there's been an awful trend in comedy to put a four-letter word in the tagline instead of a joke, because the shock makes people laugh. And Michael McIntyre doesn't do that. Michael McIntyre actually goes back to real observational comedy.
Who makes you laugh then, apart from Michael McIntyre?
Him.
Mm.
Billy Connolly always, although he does occasionally use a four-letter word. Michael Parkinson said it's always very funny after Connolly shows because you have dear little old ladies with white curls and carrier bags. I'm actually describing my late mother, of whom I was extremely fond, coming out saying, "Oh, it's really sweet," when in fact, if any of those words were used, in their sitting rooms, they might be a bit unamused. So he's got charm as well as being brilliantly creatively funny.
And who at the moment, if you have to mention somebody at the moment that really does wind you up terribly?
Well, I was watching David Starkey on Question Time, and I have to say he is so outrageous that he does make me laugh. He says things quite unbearably insulting things about women, about the National Health Service, about politicians. He was ghastly about Princess Diana, but he's so outrageous that you sort of go around the other side. Funny thing is, he's a clever man.
Yeah.
So if he wants to be taken seriously, this is not the way to do it. So I can only assume he does it on purpose.
But we're talking today to Esther Rantzen. Esther, you have been associated with so many television programs. It's unbelievable. You're a one-woman factory as far as television is concerned. I'm just looking here. The Lost Babies, Trouble in Mind, Drug Watch, Hearts of Gold, and That's Esther, that was a talk show on ITV. What was it like to work with Heather Mills?
Interesting. She's a very interesting woman. It was actually during the run of the show she met Paul McCartney. And he actually came to Meridian to collect her after one show.
Can you tell me something funny about her?
No.
Okay.
Very, very gorgeous looking bird.
Yeah.
And they say when she fixed those blue eyes on you, if you're a vulnerable male, give up now because you haven't a chance.
No, I saw your face when I was talking about Heather Mills, and I thought, oh dear.
Very interesting woman.
Let me ask you about Strictly Come Dancing, one of my favourite shows.
Yeah.
And dancing with the great Anton de Beck. So many women's heartthrob. What did you learn most from dancing with a professional like that?
Don't do it. Don't do it unless you're a good dancer. Because I think it was agony for him. He could not believe that I was not remembering the steps, because for him, dance is a language, and it actually is his first language. Whereas for me, it's a language I can't ever aspire to.
Do you think Britain has got talent?
Yeah, I do, yes. Well, loads of talent. The area of talent that is untapped, I think, these days, and we actually were able to use on That's Life, is the people who play tunes on forklift trucks. We had a couple of identical twins that played tunes by hitting each other's bald heads with spanners.
I remember False Teeth as well.
Oh, False Teeth, the wonderful tap dancer who clicked the attention. I can't do it. Mr. Stettel. He was absolutely great. Yes.
And where are they? And you remember all the names.
Where are they? Where are they? I want to know. I tell you where they are.
They're outside waiting for us.
They are still out there in this great country of ours. And where is the television programme to use to bring? Well, I suppose Britain's Got Talent, but they always they're in the first round and everybody roars with laughter, and then you never see them again. Maybe that's right.
Well, you were saying earlier on about the fact that the girl that you discovered didn't have the staying power, and in a lot of cases that might be the case. But over your career, you could never be accused of not having the staying power, could you?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? I think what happens is, as ideas come along, I get all excited about doing something new and then start pounding down the path.
Whatever led you to go into I'm a Celebrity?
Fun. Fun.
Was it as bad as they say it is?
No, it's great fun. It's much easier than Strictly Come Dancing.
Was it?
Yeah, much easier. I mean, I had to do something with my head in order to stay in a coffin underground for 47 minutes being showered with strange insects. But you can do that. You can do that. You can
just turn off.
No, you put yourself somewhere else.
Right.
You have to concentrate quite hard. I decided the earwigs were all children, and I was telling them a bedtime story, and every time they showered me with new insects, I still don't know what they were.
What was the worst thing that you had to do while you were there?
Oh, the worst thing was what people did to each other.
Oh, right.
Oh, that was awful. The bullying.
What, the mind games?
It was ridiculous. They brought in two people after the rest of us had bonded, and to my astonishment, the tribe turned against them. It was straight Lord of the Flies stuff.
Right.
I thought that was most unappealing, and actually nothing I said or did could stop them doing it. I thought it was ridiculous.
Did they have any fights after the show was finished filming?
I don't know that they... I'm still friendly with Timmy Mallet, who I think is a lovely guy. And I did meet Nick McLean, who was a Page 3 model, a bit afterwards, but not a lot. I and Martina Navratilova, what I would say about her is, great tennis champion as she is, that if you ever get wrecked on a desert island, she is the person you want to be wrecked with. She is so determined, so orderly, so focused. To be stuck in a lift with, I'm not sure. But, because she's orderly and focused, but shipwrecked on a desert island or on one of these poor Italian ships that keeps knocking itself against rocks and bursting into flame. That's a really strange story, isn't it? All these liners. I go on cruises all the time, out of Southampton here.
Yeah.
I love it.
And do you think, because they were saying on the news today that the bookings had increased, maybe because they've reduced the prices slightly. Some. But I saw one. I was looking at these poor people that had just been pulled off this thing in the where is it, in Seychelles or somewhere, isn't it?
Well, they are now. Yes. Yeah.
Now, would you say, oh well, I'll go back on a cruise next year if something like that happened to you, or would you just say, oh, it's just a fluke and carry on?
Well, I tell you, I'm going on a cruise quite soon, but it's on rivers. And I shall definitely take an asbestos vest in case the engine bursts into flame and water wings.
Well, when you go on your cruise, take our very best thoughts with you. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Pleasure.